The Liver King. The jury has deliberated. And the jury has come to a decision. Want to know what we're going to do with the Liver King? We're going to accept his apology. I watched that apology, and I got to tell you, I find certain things interesting that I don't know is to the average person. I find the way that you build up a fight, I find the way that you walk onto stage for the weigh-in. I find the way you take your shirt off and get Vaseline on in the face that you make when you know the camera's locked on you. There's only a few times in that whole night when you know the camera is locked on you. And I find those things interesting. How a guy behaves. Has a guy thought of that? Does he know for sure I'm getting publicized too? Well, that stuff is just interesting to me. But I'll share with you from the Liver King perspective, I have only seen one apology like this in my life. And if I can start at the beginning, the Liver King did not cheat anybody. One of the big problems that the Liver King had is his idea and his character and the risk that he took, which is financially very impactful. Like to go out and have those channels, to go and do the things that he was doing in the time that he was doing it, which would have opportunity costs for other things. I mean, he dug in. He made a commitment here. And it worked. That's one of the problems. It worked. There is jobbers up, down, and sideways that I can find. Any way you want to do it. YouTube, Google, Instagram, any way you want to do it. I could find guys inside and out all day long that attempted to do what the Liver King did, had the same story, that lacked accuracy, that nobody faulted. A lot of why the Liver King took the weight is because that character worked. Now, I do want to stay on that, though, because the Liver King didn't cheat anybody. I mean, I do have to bring that up. And he became a name, a very common name within our industry. I can't trace that back to tell you why. I don't know if he spent some time at an MMA gym or if he came to an event and he had the shirt off and they threw him on camera. I couldn't find why, but it's a very common name that a lot of fighters are talking about. Now, when I tell you he didn't cheat, it is important that you know that. He deceived the public. As a guy who has deceived the public, going to a meeting. My buddy Scott sets it up. It's his wife, Becky, who I'd known a meaningful period of my life. But she was an expert in PR, so she's going to help me. Chael's got 2 nickels to rub together. She's going to give me free advice, and I need it. I'm in a jam. And Becky tells me, you got to make a statement. Very first thing you have to do in closing the chapter on this is you have to make a statement. Now, I quickly did not agree with her. I didn't say that, but I didn't think that was right. And she said, yeah, as a matter of fact, she said, you can even read it. She said, somebody else, you could pay some money to PR firms I can put you in contact with, and they'll write it. Go out and read it. I'm going, wait a minute, Becky, it can be completely insincere? She said, yeah, but it's the first step. Where you go from here, but this is the first step. You got to make a statement. Now, a period of time went by. Tiger Woods ends up in a jam. And Tiger Woods did just that. He remained quiet. He goes out. There's a press conference. People came to see him. It was completely insincere. Not only did he not write it, he didn't even memorize it. He looked down and is trying to get the words right, and he walks off stage. I don't bring that to give Tiger a hard time. I bring that because Becky gave me this information. A period of time goes by, and I watch it happen. I watched a guy go out and completely insincerely do it, but it was the first step to moving on from the incident that Tiger was trying to correct. So I follow a lot of these things in PR, and when you get to the Liver King, where I tell you that I find this interesting, you do have to understand, when he gave his apology, he did it in character. I've never seen that. Well, one exception. Saw it when I was a little boy, and I'll share that story with you. I've never seen somebody do it in character. If Al Pacino got in a jam somewhere, I just couldn't imagine him going in front of the media and doing it as Tony Montana. It just wouldn't work that way. So when the Liver King gave the apology, and he chose to do it without the shirt, and he chose to do it with the voice, I thought this is going to be interesting. I don't know how this is going to go. I can't form an opinion on this. I'm going to observe this, and a period of time is going to go by. I'm going to look back and see how we did. For the most part, the apology was wildly insincere. Should we be mad at that? That's a big question. And I'm on the standpoint of no. No, this is a character. He attempted to come clean. He corrected some things. He held onto the brand and kayfabed in others. I think that's good enough for a character, right? I mean, you hear about information and misinformation and fake news. You hear about all these things. I will tell you, when I was in the 4th grade, I went to the library with Mr. Bailey's class at Wilsonville Elementary. We were told there was 2 kinds of stories. There's fiction and there's nonfiction. We were not told there was more kinds. We were not told about misinformation and disinformation, fake news. We weren't. They were told you have fiction and you have nonfiction. If he's choosing to tell a fiction story, he's a character. I think that he's got that right. Now, I have heard many people say, hey, he didn't cheat anything. Screw it. Who cares? I have heard that. The pushback, just so you understand whether you want to be with this group or not, the pushback on that is if you have trust from the public and it has something to do along the lines of come on this journey with me, this will work. I'm not only inspirational, I'm aspirational, and I can get you there because I've done it, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. And if you're going to commit to something like that, before you know it, 5 years has gone by. Son of a bitch, before you know it, 8 years has gone by. Before you know it, you went from 13 to 21 and you're out of school and you're getting a job and your hopes and dreams are behind you, sadly. And if you did something that he did and you don't get those results, you could put in a lot of time and you could have a lot of frustration. I grew up on work hard, say your prayers, take your vitamins. And I will tell you, I went to the mirror. I'm doing my curls, and weeks turned into months, turned into years. I'm not looking like the Hulkster. It was one of these things. It was not intended by Hulk Hogan to be that way. He was playing a character, right? And in life, we always want to be judged on our intent, but we judge other people for their actions. It's a mistake, and we all do it as human beings. And the Liver King set out to just be an interesting guy. I mean, there has to be room for that. And he did give an apology. And you got to understand, you got Liver King. And I keep saying that because it's Liver King that did this. It's Liver King that apologized. It wasn't Brian Johnson. I don't have an opinion on that yet. This is something I'm going to observe, and I'm highly curious how it's going to go. I'm just telling you, I'm in the school of thought, and I would like to bring you along to, let's accept his apology. Let's accept it. So, one thing that he did say in the apology, where I felt, right, as a mark, I felt as though I'm seeing through to the next curtain. He said, man, I'm going to change his words just a little bit, but he said, man, I was a regular guy. I'm a regular guy with a family, doing business, trying to make my way through this world. All of a sudden, I'm a famous guy. I got the same wife, living in the same place. I'm doing the same things. I got you guys watching. He said it was extremely difficult to navigate. And there are some things that come at you fast, and you get asked a question, and you are lying, yeah, for sure. For the same reason all of you lie. You felt shame, so you answered the question, you answered it quickly, and your thought was, I'm going to move on. I'm never going to be asked that question again. I never took steroids. And you try to move on. Whoa, somebody stopped. They ask you to get, they ask you to get, they ask you to get, they ask it again. It's one lie. It's the same lie. It becomes this thing. And he talked about that. I thought it was reasonable. There was many things within the apology that were insincere, and when you deceive the public, right, there's times in life when you get a redo. I got a redo from the public, but I couldn't tell you why. If you go, hey, Chael, you're this PR expert, and how do you do? I don't know why. You guys made that decision. But there is times in life that you get a redo. Absolutely. Graduate high school, redo, boom. Slate is white, whatever you did. Oh, that guy was a knucklehead back in high school. He was, and fill in the blank. It's funny. It's folklore. Those were the days, man. You get another one if you go into the military and you come out. You get another one if you go into college and you come out. You will get a redo the day you get married. You will have your final built-in redo in life when you have a child born. Now, that won't represent everybody, and maybe you won't do all of those things, but I'll share with you, if you do them, the slate gets clean. Oh, back in my college days. Oh, back in my single days. Oh, it's one of these deals, so it's very hard to get this, and he's asking for one. Guys, he asked for an apology. He asked for forgiveness. He gave an apology. Let's accept. Let's accept the apology. And along the way, possibly we don't discuss the Liver King again. He can go on about his business. But possibly we do learn something here, because it is very interesting that he did this in character. When I tell you that I've only seen that one other time in my life as a professional wrestler in 1987 named Sergeant Slaughter. And the wrestlers were very big into what was called kayfabe back then, which is you live the gimmick at all times, right? Terry Bollea, who is the name of Hulk Hogan, okay? If Hulk Hogan goes to book a restaurant, get himself a reservation, he doesn't book it under Terry Bollea, even his hometown. He books it under Hulk Hogan, and when he shows up, he's wearing the red and the yellow. You guys might remember one of the great heels of all time. His name was Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Ted DiBiase did not go anywhere. He's not on the clock. He's not wrestling. He didn't go anywhere that wasn't in a limousine. He wasn't in a tuxedo, and he had a bodyguard with him. Wrestling was just different back then. Now, you will become who you pretend to be, and you guys did too. Whether that caught on and that went through social media, we are who we pretend to be. So when you're playing this character and you've got to do it nonstop, you become that guy. Sergeant Slaughter was all about the red, white, and blue. He was an American hero. He's wearing camouflage and he's saluting and he's got the dog tags and the kids loved him. It was this real thing, man. What a great guy. What a great American. He was selling out arenas. All of a sudden, the U.S. gets into a real-life war with Iraq in 1992. Vince turns him heel. Now, all Vince is looking to do is tell a story and create a character and move the needle at the box office. That's all he's looking to do. But Sergeant Slaughter was a real guy. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want those cheers to go to booze. He didn't want those kids to have tears in his face that used to cheer for him, and now they're throwing popcorn at him. That was a hard thing for him as a human being to do. And Vince ran with it, and it did great box office. He got all the way. He's drawn opposite the Warrior, and one time he even pinned the Warrior. So it was over, but it bothered him, and you knew it bothered him, and they turned him back. And it was as simple as an apology. He came out, and he said, I am sorry. I am sorry I was a traitor to the USA. Now, this is a character. But the character's being played for a guy who's marked out for his own gimmick, because just like you are who you pretend to be. And it was hard, and in real life, he needed to go back. He did not like that. He did not like that an American soldier turned the other way when we were actually in a conflict. It was a big deal. It was an extremely weird apology, but he did it in character. He did it dressed up. He did it on Vince's cameras. He did it when somebody else read it. He did it when the cue went to him. And it worked. It worked. If you guys follow wrestling, you might not even remember that he was opposite Warrior in 1992, rather. I said 87. I'm just sharing with you. That's the only other time I've seen somebody give an apology in character. Oh, and by the way, it worked. And it was also about public deception. But his intent is I'm storytelling and I'm entertaining. We always want to be judged on our intent, but we judge somebody else on their actions. Here's the deal. Liver King asked for an apology. Guess what? We accept.